Now at 5, how the Joplin Humane Society is helping make fireworks season easier for pets. Plus, we're going to learn about a Fort Scott, Kansas restaurant named one of America's best. And
the U.S. Supreme Court hands down a blockbuster decision on presidential immunity. I'm Nicole Skanga outside the High Court with how today's decision impacts the criminal cases against former President Donald Trump.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
The loud noises that come with Independence Day celebrations might not only be stressful for those with PTSD, but also for animals. This is KOAM News at 5. I'm Dow Quick. The Joplin Humane Society is partnering with Pyro Pennies to host a silent fireworks stand where you can find fireworks that light up and sparkle without the boom. Because more dogs run away during the 4th of July than any other time of the year, proceeds from the stand will be used to cover reclaiming fees at the shelter.
They're just so distraught, I would imagine, because they don't have familiar surroundings, and sometimes they just run forever. It seems like you just don't know how far they'll go. So we're really trying to help, keep them home, keep them safe.
The Humane Society stand is in Webb City on West 4th Street. It'll be open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. through the 4th. America's Best Restaurants Roadshow made a stop in Fort Scott. Brick Street Barbecue was chosen to be part of the roadshow and record an episode for their web series. Lunch was open to exclusive guests from 11 to 2 p.m. while the filming the episode was in progress.
To be able to be recognized for the successes that we have had is just a great honor, and there's still a lot of things that we have to work on, so just to be recognized enough for the effort that we put into it, it's pretty cool.
There's no word on when the episode on Brick Street Barbecue will be published, but when it is, you can view it on the YouTube page for America's Best Restaurants Roadshow. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy for a first look at the weather.
Well, of course, it definitely turned out to be a hot one for us today after it was a little bit cooler for us yesterday. Temperatures climbing once again this afternoon. Most of us are sitting lower 90s, and then you have mid to upper 90s once you get into our western counties. And we do have high heat indices out there from Webb City 101, 102 in Anderson, 110 in Veneta, 104 in Parsons, 105 in Independence. Heat advisories in effect through the evening, and then again for us tomorrow, excessive heat warnings once you get into northeastern parts of Oklahoma. Not a whole bunch going on here. We've had a couple little isolated thunderstorms that have popped up, and we'll see these over the next couple hours. And then once we lose the heating of the day, those will dissipate. We'll slide back through the 90s into the 80s, even hotter on your Tuesday. We're going to look at that here in just a bit.
See you soon. Former President Donald Trump is hailing today's decision by the Supreme Court on presidential immunity. The High Court ruled former presidents are immune from criminal prosecution for their official conduct, but not for unofficial acts. Nicole Skanga is outside the Supreme Court with more.
The Supreme Court issued a landmark decision on presidential immunity in a case that directly affects former President Trump. In a 6-3 ruling, the conservative majority divided presidential conduct into 3 categories. Official acts that are part of the president's core constitutional powers, for which the president has absolute immunity. Other official acts outside the president's exclusive authority have presumptive immunity, and there is no immunity for unofficial acts.
On the majority side, they, I think, very legitimately were concerned about the threat of future presidents possibly being prosecuted.
The ruling affects special counsel Jack Smith's prosecution of Trump for his alleged efforts in the overturning of the 2020 election results. The case now goes back to the lower court.
He's going to take a big scissors to the indictment, and he's going to cut out any counts that relate or could be even close to relating to official acts.
In a scathing dissent, Justice Sonia Sotomayor warned the ruling insulates the commander-in-chief from criminal prosecution, no matter how he uses his official powers, even if it's for an assassination, military coup, or a bribe.
I think the lens she was coming from is no person is above the law.
Chief Justice John Roberts wrote in his majority opinion that no president is above the law, and the court ultimately rejected Trump's argument that he has absolute immunity unless impeached by the House and convicted by the Senate. With just over 4 months until the presidential election, Monday's ruling makes it highly unlikely Trump will face trial in the election interference case before then. Nicole Skanga, CBS News, the Supreme Court.
In a social media post, the former president called the decision a big win for our Constitution and democracy. The Office of Special Counsel Jack Smith had no comment. Trump ally Steve Bannon reported to federal prison in Connecticut today to begin serving a 4-month sentence for defying a subpoena from the House committee that investigated the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. Bannon made an emergency request to the Supreme Court last month after a federal appeals court rejected his effort to stay out of prison for contempt of Congress, but the highest court also rejected his plea.
I am proud to go to prison. If this is what it takes to stand up to tyranny, if this is what it takes to stand up to the Garland, corrupt, criminal DOJ.
A small crowd of supporters cheered for Bannon across the street from a low-security federal prison. Others in the crowd chanted, "Lock him up," and "Traitor." Still ahead, a word of warning.
Pharmacists are sounding the alarm about the historic number of drug shortages nationwide. I'm Skylar Henry in Washington detailing what's being done to fix the problem.
Plus, health experts warn of a possible summer wave of COVID infections. Those stories next in Health Watch. Topping today's Health Watch just in time to crash your summer plans, cases of COVID-19 are on the rise across the country. Although individual cases are no longer being counted, the CDC says infections are growing or likely growing in 43 states. Infectious disease expert Dr. William Schaffner calls this the summer bump that's happened every year since 2020. After years of exposure, he says our bodies are more prepared to fight the virus, but he still encourages everyone to take precautions.
Virtually all of us have had some experience with COVID in the past, whether through infection or vaccination or both. So what we call our population immunity is much better, so there are fewer severe diseases.
Updated COVID-19 vaccines will be available from Moderna, Novavax, and Pfizer later this year. The CDC recommends everyone 6 months and older should get vaccinated. Pharmacists are sounding the alarm as more than 300 medicines, including treatments for the side effects of chemotherapy, are in short supply. President Biden called on Congress in April to address the broken drug market, while also offering an incentive to hospitals to keep key drugs in stock. Reporter Skylar Henry learned how the shortage can make or break a patient's recovery.
Kristen Zastapel and her now 16-year-old son Brighton are on the other side of what she calls his scary battle with leukemia.
You almost don't feel like you're in the room. It becomes kind of this surreal nightmare.
Brighton's chemotherapy journey wasn't always easy. He landed in intensive care for a bit and endured grueling pediatric treatments for 30 weeks. But Zastapel says it wasn't until the drugs Brighton needed were in short supply that she began to worry.
It was the question of, is he going to get what he needs? Are we even going to be able to have the best chance at beating this?
Is it a cost issue? Is it a resource issue?
All of the above.
Michael Gagno with the American Society of Health System Pharmacists says drug shortages are reaching historic highs.
We tend to think of some of the pharmaceutical companies making lots and lots of money, but in reality, some of these generic medications make very, very slim margins.
The Biden administration wants Congress to pass legislation to address the issue. Advocates from the nonprofit Angels for Change are putting pressure on manufacturers to bolster the supply chain.
It has to be sustainable. It has to be redundant. And we have to have recourse so that if it does fail, we know exactly what tools we're going to activate.
We were very lucky in that Brighton was such a fighter and really pushed through.
Now that his cancer is in remission, Zastapel is sharing Brighton's story.
Every minute we were trying to get closer and closer to that finish line, and any delays in medication or any holds would just make that journey even longer.
Advocating for others struggling to access life-saving medication. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
The group Angels for Change says it's also pushing drug manufacturers to find a sweet spot of developing a little more than what's needed that can be added to the supply chain, but to avoid a stockpile of treatments to prevent cost and medical waste. Taking extra zinc and calcium 3 months before conception might help women avoid hypertension when pregnant. Researchers say the study at Columbia University highlights the importance of nutrition before conceiving. Hypertension during the pregnancy can harm both the mother and developing fetus. And a new study reveals a possible new way to fight childhood obesity. Researchers at Syracuse University found the offspring of male mice that consumed fish oil had a lower body weight than the offspring of fathers not supplemented with fish oil. Researchers say this is the first study to examine inheritance patterns exclusively in the paternal line. That is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, how a new California law could make it easier for the government to track gun sales.
Plus, we have a few isolated thunderstorms out there, and it's going to get even hotter. We're going to look at that coming up. Well, of course, started to heat back up for us today. Super hot on Friday and Saturday. Yesterday, we got a little bit of a break, and then right back up there for us today. Nice shot. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Indigo is just outside of Seneca, Missouri, and you can see those cumulus clouds which have been popping up across the region. Through the evening hours, a couple isolated showers. We slide back through the 90s, 80s, eventually into the 70s later on tonight. Quite a bit hotter once you get into our western counties. We had a warm front shift through, so it's 88 in Cassville, but 95 in Grove, 93 in Parsons, 99 in Sedan, and everybody's going to continue to heat up as we go through the next couple days. 92 in Joplin, southerly winds at about 10. We've had some gusts a little bit higher than that. Plus, the humidity is high. Look at this. Our dew points mainly into the mid 70s, which is pretty close to the top of the scale. Really about 80 is. So we're in that soupy range. Anything over 75 is pretty soupy outside. So that means heat indices are up there. 102 in Anderson, 110 Veneta, 104 in Parsons, 105 in Independence. A little breezy. The winds are going to pick up a little bit for us as we go into the next 24 hours. So it's going to stay breezy tonight. It's going to be breezy on Tuesday, and then the winds will start to calm down a little bit as we head into Wednesday as a front kind of drapes on top of us. Heat advisory in effect through tomorrow. Excessive heat warning. Northeastern parts of Oklahoma. We've had some thunderstorms kind of track to our north today, but over the past couple hours, we've had some isolated little guys that popped up along that Kansas, Missouri state line. So Pittsburgh over toward Liberal, one little guy just south of Columbus, little thunderstorm just to the west of Miami. So a few hit and miss storms as we go through the evening hours. Once we lose the heating of the day, those storms will be gone. All the big time severe weather staying up across the western high plains. Let me take you through time tonight. Pretty calm. We back down mid 70s. As we go through the daytime hours tomorrow, by noon, we're already into lower 90s, and then upper 90s, 4 highs for us tomorrow afternoon. Thunderstorms to our north tomorrow night, and some of these guys are going to push in through the overnight hours into Wednesday morning. So don't be surprised if you get scattered thunderstorms tomorrow night, which we still need the rain. These will be out of here by Wednesday morning, and then we'll see a few more hit and miss showers throughout the day on Wednesday. So this will most likely keep our temperatures down just a little bit for highs on Wednesday, and then these are going to roll out. And then as we go into Thursday, which of course is the 4th of July, we'll see additional chances for showers and thunderstorms pushing through. All right, 76 in the morning, 92 by noon. High temp tomorrow, 99 degrees. Heat indices, they're going to be up there. Look at this, heat index tomorrow, about 105 to about 113 across the region. That's why we have those heat indices, or the heat advisories in effect. Still above 100 on Wednesday, and then if we go into the 4th, we're going to have those heat indices again, 105 to about 110. So if you are going to be outside, make sure you drink plenty of fluids. Alert day tomorrow due to the heat advisory. 95, a little bit cooler on Wednesday, 99 on Thursday. Friday, Saturday look good, cooler, and then thunderstorm chances back in for us next week.
Well, boy, some hot days ahead. Going
there
into
are,
the
for
4th.
sure.
Thanks, Doug. It's almost time for another KOAM flag swap event. Tomorrow, we're going to be set up at Harvest Bank at 2023 East 32nd Street in Joplin from noon to 1:30. You can stop by during that time to trade in your old tattered American flag and receive a brand new one for no charge, just in time for Independence Day. We're going to have 100 new flags to hand out, so don't wait. The old ones will be retired according to the U.S. Flag Code. Millions of Americans plan to travel for the 4th of July. Coming up, we're going to tell you what to expect before you leave home. Topping today's Consumer Watch, a new California law that goes into effect today will require credit card networks like Visa and MasterCard to provide retail codes to banks that can be assigned to gun stores to track sales. Lawmakers in New York and Colorado are following suit. Some Democrats and gun control activists say the codes could help flag suspicious gun-related purchases. 17 states with GOP legislatures have passed laws limiting such codes or banning them due to concerns that gun buyers who have done nothing wrong will be targeted. If you're traveling for the 4th of July, you are far from alone. AAA is predicting a record number of people to fly and hit the road. Jared Hill looks at how passengers are coping.
Daniela and William Miramontes are heading to Maine for the 4th, and this trip is extra special because they're also celebrating their son's birthday. He was born a year ago, premature.
Weighing 1.5 pounds, so he was very, very small. He fit in the palm of our hands, so we're very excited to be able to celebrate his big milestone in 1 year.
Airports are expecting a crush of travelers in the coming days. One reason why, ticket prices are down 18% from last year, according to the travel site Hopper.
You know, we got a pretty good deal. We booked somewhat last minute, but it wasn't too bad.
From Thursday to Sunday, the TSA screened more than 11.3 million people. That's a 5.3% increase from last year.
As an agency nationwide, we are going to be extremely busy for the summer. Okay, we are seeing record numbers since the pandemic.
There could be a record number of drivers on the road as well. AAA predicts more than 60 million people will drive 50 miles or more for the holiday.
What we're seeing is that people are going to go on their trips no matter what. And especially this summer, we're seeing the numbers even bigger than last summer, which was also a record-setting summer.
AAA says the worst traffic in metro areas will be on Wednesday, July 3rd and Sunday, July 7th as travelers head home. Jared Hill, CBS News, New York.
Canadian airline WestJet has canceled hundreds of flights after its maintenance workers union went on strike Friday night. The union says the airline is unwilling to negotiate a new deal. The airline's CEO says the blame falls on a, quote, rogue union from the U.S. The strike came right before a long holiday weekend and Canada Day, celebrated today in that country. How does a summer Friday sound? Well, it's becoming more common for small businesses to reduce hours on Fridays during the summer, one way to boost employee morale. Some companies are even starting to give workers the entire day off. A final check of the forecast next. Up next on the CBS Evening News, domestic violence survivors can now receive alerts if their abuser is in close proximity. We're going to look at a first-of-its-kind law that advocates believe will save lives. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to have more on a Joplin fireworks stand providing quieter options to put pets at ease. Plus, a Miami Public Library program aims to give teens a lesson in the kitchen. And a former Pitt State Gorilla is continuing his basketball career overseas. We're going to learn about his transition to the pros. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. It's only the 1st of July, but the city of Girard, Kansas just can't wait to set off some fireworks. This is a live look at the town's fireworks display tonight at the Crawford County Fairgrounds. Folks can come out and enjoy the show as well as some vendors. You can see a vendor or two set up already. It all kicks off tonight at 6. The fireworks, of course, will be a bit later than that. It's going to be hot out there for the coming days, Doug.
It is. Even getting hotter as we get into the daytime hours for us tomorrow. Alert day tomorrow due to heat indices 105 to about 112. Actual temperature up to 99 degrees.
Thanks for joining us. The CBS Evening News is next. And, of course, we're going to be right back here for KOAM News at 6. See you then. Let's make it a great evening.